Alright y'all, so for today I'm going to go over a couple more types of snare traps, and one in particular is one of my favorite types just because of the design, and it's also really effective for squirrels as well as the last one, but this one is pretty cool too, and you can catch anything from a squirrel all the way up to a coyote if you size it correctly. So the first thing you're going to collect 2 pieces of wood like this. So you're going to want this hook right here. This hook right here is extremely important. So what we got here is a regular springy sapling here. I think we'll put a little tight little knot on here so it doesn't fall off. Any kind of strong constricting type knot will do just fine. You got your knot on there. Bring it down, figure where it's going to land. You're going to want to position this on your game trail, whatever trail it is. And with this particular trap, it actually doesn't even have to be on a game trail. It can be just somewhere near it. Because this is going to be more of a platform trap. This is going to be a baited trap. So we'll say right there is good. Next, what we're going to do, we're going to make a simple little constricted noose here. This is going to be our snare. So you're going to make just a regular little loop like that. It's a fixed loop. You're going to fold it over. So that way you have this slip knot here. We're going to need a trigger peg. So this will work. And you don't want this to be very long, actually fairly short for that matter. What we're going to do, I'm going to bring this back down. I like to tuck it under my armpit when I'm working on it so that way it doesn't whack me in the face if it slips out of my hand. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do a simple constricting, grabbing type knot on here. Just to hold it on. This is going to be our trigger system. And then your noose, you can just tie on here, or alternatively, you can actually just use one consecutive strand. But I like using 2. Once you've got your peg and everything set up, you're going to figure out where it's going to land, where you're going to set your stakes. So you're going to set one stake, we'll go with right in here. You're going to want to put these things as deep in here as possible. It's going to be a lot of tension on it. And then your other one, put it about a foot away. You can go a little bit shorter, a little bit further. It really just depends on the type of game you're trying to catch. Now the way that the trigger system works, you're going to bring this down. You're going to take one of your sticks, you're going to put them up under here. And this trigger peg right here is going to loop underneath it. You're going to take your other trigger stick and you're going to make that a very fine hair trigger. You're just going to leave too much of a hair trigger. And what this is going to do, this is going to allow you to start working on your platform. Now it's important for the snare portion, you should make sure that your snare goes over this top piece here. So with that there, what we're going to do is we're going to find a ton of just long sticks. We're going to lay them on this bottom strut here. Just like that. So now what you'll do is you'll spread your snare over the entire platform. We have all our sticks that are laid out right here. The trap is technically set. At this point what we can do is spread some leaves across it. I have orange paracord so it shows up on camera better. At this point, you can set your bait here. Take some crushed up nuts, some acorns, whatever, and lay it around right here, whatever it is that your target animal's after. And you would size this for your animal, obviously. So this would be much larger if it was for a raccoon or a possum. This would be more for a squirrel or a rabbit. So they're walking here, and they're eating their bait. When they depress this platform, up they go. And what happens is because they're on a spring pull, it keeps the noose around their neck or around wherever it is they got caught on, and they have a much harder time escaping, if even possible. And this is one of the reasons why this trap in particular is one of my favorites. Now let's move on to the next style type of spring trap. So for our next trap, what we're going to need is a straight piece like this. And this is actually going to be a trigger. And what we're going to do is we want to flatten off these ends as much as possible. So these ends are going to be part of our trigger. Somewhere along the center, we're going to do the same thing, make a regular, strictly self-tightening knot. Something that won't come undone. Now this trap, you're going to want to put this actually on a trail. Because what this is going to be, much like my previous spring trap, they're going to run through this one, and that's where they're going to get caught. So, you find your spot on the trail where you can set it, bring it down, figure out where it's going to go. This is where you're going to put your 2 sticks. Now this is going to be very specific in size. The way this one's going to work, this bait stick is going to rest in a notch here, and a notch here, and this one. And when they run in either direction with the knot, they're going to trigger it and it's going to lift them up. So let's go ahead and make our knot, or our notch. You're going to make this as flat as possible and even inset it just a little bit. You can test it by resting it in there. You see how it fits in there almost perfectly. So next we're going to do one for this side too.
Okay.
So at this point we're going to bring this down. We're going to figure out what we want our first piece. So we'll say our trail is running something along the lines of like this. We're going to push a stake all the way in. For your next piece, this is where it gets really finicky. You want to make sure this is exact to the point. So we're going to want it right about there. And this is the most important part. You gotta get that exactly right. So now let's bring this down. Hopefully it's a good match. I'm gonna use the armpit technique here. You see how we got that going here. So now what we've got here, our trigger is set. Let's go ahead and place our noose. And what you do is you use a couple sticks to prop this up. Actually, it's propping itself up. And once you prop that up a couple inches off the ground so that it's about that high, we're going to leave it. And as your animal comes through, grabs the noose, keeps on running, and up he goes. This is a bi-directional trap, which means it'll work whether they're going one way or the other. This is another really effective animal trap for runs. Given the time to actually create this one, I prefer this one over the one that we discussed in my previous video. So with that said, let's go on to my next one, and this one is going to be more targeted for birds. So the interesting thing about birds is that every single form of birds are actually edible. All of them. So that's actually a really valuable source of knowledge to know, because birds are everywhere, and knowing how to trap them can also make for a very easy, albeit small, meal. So this is going to be a Ojibwa bird trap. And we're going to start with just a simple pole. And I'm going to shave down the side so that's a little bit thinner and easier to work. So now we got this nice thin board section of our staff here. And what we're going to do, we're just going to take our knife and we're going to work a hole that goes all the way through it. You can use a rock or a razor knife or whatever it is that you happen to have. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take you a rope, you're going to feed it through the hole, just like that. And on one side, you're going to need a weight. And I've chosen this piece right here. It's not super heavy. The biggest thing that you need to keep in mind is that when this trigger is set, this weight's going to fall and it's going to sink or tighten the noose around the bird's legs. So if you're going after small animals, small birds, you're going to want a really light weight, otherwise you can break their legs off, and that's not okay. And we're going to do a constricting noose just like we did on the rest of the traps for this side. Nextly, all we need is a small little perch, and this right here will work. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sharpen it just a little bit so that fits into the hole. And what you're going to do, you're going to take your perch and you're going to push it into the hole just enough so that you jam the cord. And once you figure out where that jam point is, you can mark the back side with your finger, pull it back out, and you can cut that section off so that it's not sticking out. That's kind of important because you want the perch to fall away. So now, that's just barely in there. You're going to take your noose, stretch it out over the entirety of the perch. So, break that off. So that would be over the entirety of the perch. Now ideally, you'd have this trap somewhere that's wide open, like an open field or somewhere that a bird's going to want to land and take a moment to rest. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to whittle this down a little bit more, because this is what we want to do. We want to make sure this is as much of a hair trigger as possible. And that was a little sticky the first time. Yep, get my hole. Put that in there. And ideally, this is going to be in a wide open area where they can, where they're going to want to land. Obviously, a forested area like this is not going to work for a bird trap. So, wide open field, near a pond or whatever, they're flying around, they go to land, this falls out, and it holds their legs against here. They can't get away, they're stuck here, and you come and get them. Make sure you check your traps at least every single day. Twice a day is actually good too. The longer they have to sit in the trap, the more inhumane it is. You're surviving, you're not trying to torture animals, so try to be responsible about it. And again, make sure you don't leave any trap completely unattended. Don't forget about it and leave it set, because people's pets and animals can get stuck in these, and that's not okay. With that said, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and comment. If you haven't already, hit that bell icon down below, and I'll see you all in my next video. Thank you for watching.